The massive alien ship hung in space like a dark metal mountain. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in weapons that could destroy entire cities. Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge, looking down at the small blue planet below, Earth, the home of the humans. He did not like humans. They were new to space travel. They had only discovered faster-than-light flight 50 years ago. Yet somehow, these small pink creatures had spread to 12 star systems. They built colonies where they did not belong. They took resources that belonged to older, wiser species. Today, that would end. Contact the human government, Zethkar ordered. His voice was deep and harsh like grinding stone. Tell them their ambassador must come aboard at once. The communications officer, a thin creature with 4 arms, began sending the message. Within an hour, a small human shuttle approached the massive Galactic Council ship. It looked like a tiny insect next to the alien vessel. Ambassador Maria Santos stepped off the shuttle and into the alien ship. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. 2 security guards walked with her, but they looked nervous. The alien corridors were huge and dark. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. They brought her to a vast chamber where 12 alien leaders waited. Each one represented a different species from the Galactic Council. Some were tall and thin with multiple arms. Others were short and covered in scales. One looked like a giant spider made of metal. All of them stared at the human woman with cold eyes. Admiral Zethkar stepped forward. He was 8 feet tall with blue-gray skin and teeth like knives. His uniform was black with gold markings that showed his high rank in the Vorthic Empire. "Human," he said, his voice echoing in the large room. "You stand before the Galactic Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. Your species is nothing but children playing with dangerous toys." Ambassador Santos did not look afraid. She had dealt with bullies before. "Admiral Zethkar," she said calmly, "I greet you on behalf of the United Earth government. What brings the council to our solar system?" Zethkar laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Your arrogance amuses me, human. You ask what brings us here, your people bring us here. You expand into systems that do not belong to you. You take worlds that have been claimed by council members for centuries." Another alien leader spoke. This one looked like a walking tree, with glowing red eyes. "The humans have colonies in the Kepler 442 system," it said in a voice like wind through leaves. "That system belongs to the Xanthari Collective. They have mining rights there. The humans also built a research station near the Proxima Centauri trade routes," added a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish. "Those routes are protected by council law." Ambassador Santos listened to each complaint. When they finished, she spoke clearly. "The systems you mentioned were empty when we arrived. We found no signs of active colonies or mining operations. Under galactic law, empty systems can be claimed by any species capable of using them." The aliens began to speak angrily among themselves. Their voices rose in different languages and sounds. Some hissed, others clicked or buzzed. Admiral Zethkar raised his hand for silence. "You quote galactic law to us?" he said. "We wrote those laws. The systems you took belong to council members. It does not matter if they were empty. They were claimed long before your species even knew fire existed." "Then show us the claim documents," Ambassador Santos replied. "Under the same laws you mentioned, all territorial claims must be filed with proper documentation." Zethkar's eyes narrowed. The truth was that many of those systems had been claimed informally. The older species had simply agreed among themselves. Who owned what? They had never expected a new species to challenge their arrangements. "You test our patience, human," Zethkar growled. "The Galactic Council has decided. Your species will withdraw from all disputed territories within 72 standard hours. You will remove all colonies, stations, and ships from these systems. You will return to your home system and stay there until the Council decides you are ready to join galactic civilization properly." The other alien leaders nodded in agreement. Some smiled with too many teeth. They expected the human to beg or ask for more time. They had given this same ultimatum to 3 other species in the past. All had backed down rather than face the might of the Council fleet. Ambassador Santos was quiet for a long moment. She looked at each alien leader in turn, then she spoke. "And if we refuse?" The chamber fell silent. Even the humming of the ship's engines seemed to grow quieter. The aliens looked at each other in surprise. No species had ever asked that question. Before, Admiral Zethkar leaned forward. His voice became very soft and dangerous. "If you refuse, human, the Council will send our Grand Fleet to remove you by force. We will destroy every human ship, station, and colony outside your home system. We will blockade Earth until your people learn their proper place in the galaxy." He gestured to a large display screen that activated behind him. It showed images of massive alien warships. Hundreds of them, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. "Behold the Apex Squadron," Zethkar said with pride. "The finest ships from each Council member species. The most experienced crews in the galaxy, the most advanced weapons ever created. Each ship in this squadron could destroy your entire Earth fleet by itself." The images showed terrible weapons in action. Energy beams that melted asteroids, missiles that could crack moons, shields that could stop the power of a sun. "The Eternal Dominion alone," Zethkar continued, pointing to a ship that looked like a dark metal cathedral, "carries enough firepower to turn your Earth into a dead rock, and that is just one ship. The Apex Squadron has 50 such vessels." Ambassador Santos studied the images carefully. She had seen them before, of course. Earth's intelligence agencies had been watching the Council fleets for years. But she let the aliens think they were impressing her. "These are indeed powerful ships," she said finally. "But Admiral, you seem to have made an assumption." "What assumption?" Zethkar demanded. "You assume that we are afraid." The aliens began to mutter among themselves again. The spider-like creature clicked its metal legs nervously. The floating jellyfish pulsed with angry colors. "You should be afraid," said the tree-like alien. "Your species has been in space for only 50 years. We have ruled the galaxy for 3,000. Your technology is primitive compared to ours." Ambassador Santos smiled slightly. "Our technology may be different from yours, but different does not always mean inferior." "Enough of this foolishness," Zethkar snapped. "You have heard our terms. 72 hours to withdraw from all disputed systems. What is your answer?" Ambassador Santos stood straighter. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "I will relay your ultimatum to my government. They will give you their answer within the time limit you have set." "Good," Zethkar said. "Perhaps your leaders have more sense than you do." But Ambassador Santos was not finished. "However, I feel I should warn you of something." "Warn us?" The alien admiral's voice was full of disbelief. "You dare to warn the Galactic Council?" "Humanity has a saying," Santos continued calmly. "Never start a fight you cannot finish. I suggest you remember that." The aliens erupted in angry sounds again. Some laughed. Others hissed threats. But Ambassador Santos noticed that a few looked thoughtful. They had heard stories about human wars. Stories about a species that fought each other for thousands of years and somehow grew stronger from it. "Remove this insolent creature from my sight," Zethkar ordered. The security guards escorted Ambassador Santos back to her shuttle. As she walked through the alien corridors, she activated a small device hidden in her jacket. It sent a coded message to Earth. The message was very short. "Ultimatum received. Recommend option 7. On Earth, the message reached the Global Defense Council within minutes. The military leaders gathered in a secret bunker deep underground. They read the message and looked at each other grimly. General Harrison, the head of Earth's Space Forces, spoke first. "Option 7 it is, then. How long until the Indomitable is ready?" "Captain Chen reports full readiness," replied Admiral Kim. "All systems tested and operational. The crew is standing by." The aliens gave us 72 hours, said President Williams, who had joined the meeting by secure video link. "That should be enough time to get our ship into position." Are we sure about this? Asked General Martinez. The Council fleet is massive. Even with our advantages, we're talking about 50 alien warships against one of ours. General Harrison smiled grimly. The aliens think they know what humanity is capable of. They're about to learn they were wrong. Meanwhile, in space near Earth, a sleek ship prepared for departure. The U's Indomitable looked small compared to the alien vessels shown in the Council's presentation, but its hull was made of materials the aliens had never seen. Its engines used principles they did not understand. Its weapons were designed by a species that had been perfecting the art of war for thousands of years. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge, watching Earth turn slowly below. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. The chance to show the galaxy what humanity could do when pushed too far. All stations report ready, said her second-in-command, Commander Torres. Set course for the Kepler 442 system, Chun ordered. Maximum stealth configuration. If the aliens want to see what we're made of, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget. The Indomitable disappeared into the darkness between stars invisible to alien sensors. Behind it, Earth's shipyards worked at full speed, building more ships like it. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species. They were about to discover their mistake. In the Galactic Council ship, Admiral Zethkar waited for humanity's surrender. He was confident it would come. It always did. No species was foolish enough to fight the combined might of the Council. He had no idea that humanity was different. He did not understand that humans had a very simple response to bullies: hit back. Twice as hard. The countdown had begun. In 72 hours, the galaxy would change forever. The Apex Squadron dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system like a pack of metal predators. 50 massive warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the distant star's light. Each ship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, designed to inspire fear in any enemy. Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. His flagship was the largest ship in the formation, stretching nearly 3 miles from bow to stern. Its dark hull bristled with enough weapons to level a continent. "All ships report ready for combat operations," announced his tactical officer, a 4-armed creature named Vexstar. "Long-range sensors are scanning the system for human vessels." "What do you detect?" Zethkar asked. Vexstar studied his instruments with growing confusion. "Admiral, the human colonies are here. 3 mining stations and a small research outpost. But I detect no defensive fleet. No military vessels at all." This puzzled Zethkar. Intelligence reports had suggested the humans would mount some kind of defense. Even primitive species usually tried to protect their territory when threatened. "Perhaps they fled," suggested Commander Kithver, a serpentine alien with glowing yellow eyes. "The humans may have seen the wisdom of retreat when faced with our superior force." "Cowards," spat General Thrakmar, a massive creature that looked like a walking boulder. "I expected more fight from a species that claims to be warriors." Zethkar was about to agree when his communications officer spoke up. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from within the system." "From the colonies?" Zethkar asked. "No, sir. The signal originates from coordinates near the 4th planet." "But our sensors show nothing there." "Put it through," Zethkar ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. A calm, professional voice filled the chamber. It spoke in perfectly clear galactic standard, with just a hint of an accent that marked it as human. "Attention Galactic Council. Vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earthship Indomitable. You are trespassing in human space. Leave now or be destroyed." The alien bridge crew fell silent for a moment. Then several of them began to laugh. The sound echoed through the massive chamber like the growling of beasts. "Did this human just threaten us?" asked Commander Kithver, wiping tears from his eyes. "1 ship against 50, chuckled General Thrakmar. "These humans have more courage than sense." But Admiral Zethkar was not laughing. He was studying his tactical displays with growing concern. "Where is this ship?" Our sensors detect no vessels. In the coordinates the transmission came from, Vexstar worked frantically at his station. I am running full spectrum scans, Admiral. There is definitely something there, but our sensors cannot get a clear reading. It is as if the ship exists, but does not exist at the same time. Impossible, Zethkar growled. No technology can hide from Council sensors. Increase scan power to maximum. Already at maximum, sir. Wait. I am detecting quantum fluctuations in that area. Very faint, but consistent with some kind of cloaking. Field, Zethkar's eyes narrowed. The humans had cloaking technology? The Council had experimented with such devices for centuries, but had never made them practical for use on large warships. All ships maintain formation, he ordered. Target. The coordinates of that transmission. If there is a human ship hiding there, we will blast it into atoms. The massive alien vessels began to turn their weapons toward the empty space where the human transmission had originated. Energy cannons charged with deadly power. Missile tubes loaded with ship-killer warheads. Weapons ready, Admiral, reported. Vexstar. Open fire, Zethkar commanded. The space around the coordinates erupted in destruction. Energy beams from 50 ships converged on a single point. Missiles streaked through the void like falling stars. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. For several seconds, space itself seemed to burn. Then the weapon's fire stopped, leaving only glowing particles and radiation where the attack had struck. Target destroyed, announced Vexstar with satisfaction, but his celebration was cut short when the human voice spoke again. This time it came from a completely different location, several thousand kilometers away. Impressive light show, Captain Chun said calmly. But you missed. The aliens scrambled to locate the new transmission source. Again, their sensors detected only quantum fluctuations and empty space. This is impossible, snarled General Thrakmer. No ship can move that fast without our sensors detecting it? Admiral Zethkar was beginning to feel the first stirrings of unease. The humans were demonstrating technology the Council did not understand. That had not happened in over 1,000 years, Captain Chun, he said, opening a communication channel. I am Admiral Zethkar of the Galactic Council. You command. Only one ship against our 50. Surrender now and your crew will be treated with honor. The human's response was immediate. Admiral, you seem to be under a misunderstanding. You think this is 50 ships against one. But you're wrong. Then how many ships do you have? Zethkar demanded. I have exactly what I need, Chun replied. Nothing more, nothing less. Before Zethkar could respond, alarms began screaming throughout his ship. The tactical displays flashed red as his sensors finally detected something. Contact! Shouted Vexstar. Human vessel decloaking directly behind our formation. The use. Indomitable appeared like a ghost becoming solid. It was smaller than the alien ships, sleek and angular where they were bulky and ornate. Its hull was a dark blue-gray color that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, but size was not everything. As the alien crews watched in shock, the human ship opened fire. The Indomitable's weapons were unlike anything the Council had seen before. Instead of energy beams or plasma bolts, it launched solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Tungsten rods, each one weighing several tons, accelerated to nearly 20% of light speed. The kinetic weapons struck the nearest alien ship before its crew could even react. The Council vessel's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, offered little protection against solid matter moving at such velocity. The tungsten rods punched through the alien hull like needles through paper. The Corvin battlecruiser is hit, Vexstar reported in shock. Massive hull breaches on decks 7 through 15. They are venting atmosphere. A second volley from the Indomitable struck another Council ship. This time the target was a Zenthari heavy cruiser, its organic hull covered in living armor that could regenerate from energy weapon damage. But the kinetic rounds tore through the living tissue like it was soft clay. All ships, return fire, Zethkar bellowed. Destroy that human vessel. The Council fleet turned to engage their tormentor. 50 of the galaxy's most advanced warships brought their weapons to bear on the single human ship. Energy cannons charged. Missile launchers prepared to fire. But the Indomitable was already moving. The human ship accelerated with impossible speed, its fusion engines producing thrust levels that should have crushed any organic crew. It twisted through space like a striking snake, changing direction in ways that violated everything the aliens knew about physics and engineering. The Council's return fire lit up the void, but every shot missed its target. The human ship seemed to know where the aliens would aim before they fired. It danced between energy beams and missile explosions with graceful precision. "How are they moving like that?" demanded Commander Kithver. "Those acceleration forces should kill their crew. Their inertial compensators must be far more advanced than ours," Vexstar replied, his voice filled with disbelief. "And their pilot? No organic being could react that fast?" He was right. The Indomitable was not being piloted by human reflexes alone. Its artificial intelligence system could process tactical information and execute maneuvers faster than any biological crew. Every alien weapon lock was detected and countered before the shot was fired. Captain Cheen sat in her command chair, watching the battle unfold on her displays. Her crew worked with calm efficiency around her, their movements precise and practiced. "Enemy formation is breaking up," reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Walsh. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them," Chun replied. "Commander Torres, prepare the second phase weapons." "Aye, Captain." Railguns charging to full power. The Indomitable's next attack was even more devastating. Its electromagnetic railguns launched projectiles at even higher velocities than the first volley. These rounds were designed to penetrate deep into enemy vessels before exploding. A Vorthek destroyer simply vanished in a ball of fire as its reactor core was breached. A hegemony cruiser broke in half when its structural frame was severed. Another ship listed helplessly as its engine section was torn away. In less than 5 minutes, the mighty Apex Squadron had lost 6 ships and seen 3 more badly damaged. The survivors were in disarray, their perfect formations scattered across thousands of kilometers of space. Admiral Zethkar watched the destruction with growing horror. His greatest fear was coming true. The humans were not primitive barbarians. They were something far more dangerous, a warrior species with advanced technology and the will to use it. "All ships, form defensive pattern 7, he ordered. "Concentrate our fire. That human ship cannot dodge forever." But even as he gave the command, Zethkar knew he was wrong. The Indomitable moved like it was reading his mind, anticipating every tactic his officers suggested. Its cloaking system allowed it to vanish and reappear at will, striking from unexpected angles. "Captain," Chion's voice cut through the chaos of battle. "Admiral Zethkar, you wanted to see what humanity is capable of. This is just the beginning." The human ship disappeared again, leaving the alien sensors scanning empty space. But this time, Zethkar noticed something different. There were quantum signatures in multiple locations around his fleet. "Admiral," Vexstar said with dawning fear in his voice, "I am detecting cloaked objects in 12 different positions around our formation." "Impossible," Zethkar whispered. "Intelligence said they only had 1 ship." "Maybe they lied," came Chun's voice over the communication channel. "Or maybe you didn't ask the right questions." But as the sensor readings became clearer, Vexstar realized the truth. "Admiral, it is still just 1 ship. But it is moving between those positions faster than our sensors can track. It is creating the illusion of multiple vessels." The tactical implications hit Zethkar like a physical blow. The human ship was not just fast, it was impossibly fast. It could strike from any direction at any time, and his crews would never see it coming. Another Council ship died in nuclear fire as the Indomitable materialized long enough to deliver a killing blow before vanishing again, then another, and another. The hunters had become the hunted. The mighty Galactic Council fleet found itself at the mercy of a single human warship that fought like a demon from their darkest myths. And somewhere in the depths of space, Captain Sarah Chun smiled grimly as she prepared to show the galaxy Exactly what happened when you threatened humanity. The battle was far from over, but already the outcome was becoming clear. The Council had brought their best. It would not be enough. The Apex Squadron was dying. Admiral Zethkar watched his tactical display with growing despair as another Council ship exploded in brilliant fire. The hegemony battleship Crushing Victory had lasted less than 30 seconds against the human vessel. Its massive armor, designed to withstand the heaviest weapons in the galaxy, had been torn apart like wet paper. "Damage report," he ordered through gritted teeth. Vextar's 4 hands worked frantically over his console. "We have lost 9 ships completely destroyed, sir. 7 more are heavily damaged and pulling back. The Xanthari cruiser Living Fortress is venting atmosphere from 12 hull breaches. The Corvan destroyer Swift Death has lost all weapons and is dead in space." 9 ships. In less than 20 minutes, the humans had destroyed 9 of the galaxy's finest warships. Ships that had taken years to build and decades to train their crews. "Where is the human vessel now?" Zethkar demanded. "Unknown, Admiral." It cloaked. Again after destroying the Crushing Victory. "Our sensors show quantum disturbances in 17 different locations." Zethkar slammed his fist against his command chair. The human ship was playing with them, moving so fast between positions that it seemed to be everywhere at once. Each time his ships tried to target it, the vessel would vanish and appear somewhere else entirely. "Admiral," called Commander Kithver from his position at the communications station, "the surviving ship captains are requesting permission to withdraw. Morale is breaking down. Some crews are talking about desertion." The words hit Zethkar like a slap across the face. His crews were elite soldiers from 12 different species. They had never known defeat. Yet now they spoke of running from a single enemy ship. "Denied," he growled. "We do not run from primitives. All ships will maintain position and fight." But even as he spoke, Zethkar knew his authority was crumbling. The other Council species had joined this mission expecting an easy victory. They had brought their best ships to intimidate the humans, not to fight a real battle. Now they were paying the price for their arrogance. The Indomitable appeared again, this time directly above the Council formation. Captain Cheen had positioned her ship so that the alien vessels would have to fire through each other to hit her. It was a masterful tactical move that showed she understood their formations better than they did. The human ship unleashed another devastating volley. This time the target was a massive Thurkari dreadnought, a ship so large it carried its own fighter squadrons. The kinetic round struck with pinpoint accuracy, hitting the dreadnought's fighter bays just as its small craft were launching. The explosion was spectacular. The fighter fuel and ammunition cooked off in a chain reaction that tore the giant ship apart from the inside. Escape pods began launching as the crew abandoned their dying vessel. 10 ships, Vextar reported quietly. "We have lost 10 ships." Captain Chin's voice cut through the chaos on the Council communication channels. "Admiral Zethkar, your crews are dying for your pride. Order them to withdraw and I will let them go." Zethkar's eyes blazed with fury. "Never, the Galactic Council does not negotiate with terrorists." "Terrorists?" Chun's voice carried a note of amusement. "Admiral, you came to my system with 50 warships and demanded we abandon our homes. Who exactly is the terrorist here?" Before Zethkar could respond, another ship died. The Vorthek heavy cruiser Domination fell to a precision strike that severed its main power conduits. The ship went dark and began drifting helplessly through space. The remaining Council vessels were now spread across thousands of kilometers, their formation completely broken. Some ships tried to hide behind asteroids. Others attempted to flee to the edge of the system. A few brave captains still tried to fight, but their shots continued to miss the impossibly agile human vessel. Captain Sarah Chun sat in her command chair, watching the battle displays with calm satisfaction. Her ship's artificial intelligence was feeding her constant updates on enemy positions and movements. The AI could predict alien tactics with 97% accuracy, making the Indomitable nearly untouchable. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Walsh from the tactical station, The enemy formation has completely collapsed. They are no longer fighting as a coordinated unit. Good, Chun replied. Begin Phase 3. Target their command ship. The Eternal Dominion was easy to spot. It was by far the largest vessel in the alien fleet, and it had been hanging back from the main battle. Admiral Zethkar had kept his flagship out of the worst fighting, probably hoping to survive long enough to claim some kind of victory that was about to change. The Indomitable altered course, its fusion engines pushing it toward the alien flagship at incredible speed. The human ship's acceleration was so intense that any unprotected crew would have been crushed into paste. But the Indomitable's inertial dampeners were generations ahead of anything the Council possessed. Incoming human vessel, Vexstar shouted. It is heading directly for us. All weapons, fire at will. Zethkar commanded. Destroy that ship. The Eternal Dominion was armed with the most powerful weapons in the Vorthak arsenal. Energy cannons that could melt mountains, plasma torpedoes that burned hotter than stars, particle beams that could cut through any known material. All of them missed. The Indomitable twisted through the weapon fire, like a dancer avoiding raindrops. Its pilot seemed to know where each shot would go before the alien gunners even fired. The ship spun and rolled through space, never slowing its approach toward the massive flagship. Impact in 30 seconds, Vexstar reported. The human ship is going to ram us. But Qin had no intention of ramming the alien vessel. At the last possible moment, the Indomitable rolled to port and unleashed its most devastating attack yet, rail. Gun rounds struck the Eternal Dominion shields at point-blank range. The alien energy barriers, already weakened by the intensity of the human weapons, collapsed entirely. The kinetic projectiles punched deep into the flagship's hull, tearing through armor plating and internal bulkheads. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the alien ship. Atmosphere rushed out of dozens of hull breaches. Internal explosions lit up entire sections as the tungsten rounds found critical systems. Engineering reports massive damage. Vexstar called out over the noise. We have lost primary power to weapons and shields. Life support is failing on decks 12 through 28. Admiral Zethkar felt his ship shudder as another explosion rocked the massive vessel. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The lights flickered and dimmed. Damage control teams to all affected areas, he ordered, but he knew it was too late. The Eternal Dominion was dying just like the rest of his fleet. The human ship had moved on to other targets. A Zenthari battlecruiser tried to ram the Indomitable but missed completely as the human vessel simply stepped aside at the last moment. The alien ship's return fire was wild and desperate, more likely to hit friendly vessels than the enemy, Captain. Chun opened a general communication channel to all surviving Council ships. This is your final warning. Withdraw from human space immediately, or I will destroy every vessel in your fleet. Some ships began to comply. The surviving Corvan vessels, known for their pragmatism, immediately began charging their hyperspace engines. A few Zenthari ships followed suit, their captains finally accepting that this battle could not be won, but others refused to retreat. General Thrakari, commanding the remaining Thrakari ships, broadcast his own message. A Thrakari Empire does not flee from any enemy. All Thrakari vessels attack formation. 5 massive Thrakari dreadnoughts formed up in a battle line, their crews determined to restore some honor to the Council's reputation. These were the largest ships remaining in the alien fleet, each one heavily armored and armed with enough firepower to level a city. The Indomitable turned to meet them. What followed was a display of tactical brilliance that would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ship darted between the alien dreadnoughts like a fighter craft, too close for their heavy weapons to track effectively. It struck at weak points in their armor, targeting engine mounts and weapon systems with surgical precision. One by one, the Thrakari ships fell silent. Not destroyed, but crippled beyond repair. Captain Qin could have annihilated them completely, but she chose to disable them instead. It was a message. Humanity was not interested in genocide, only in defending what was theirs. General Thrakari, His flagship dead in space and his fleet in ruins, finally understood what they were facing. The humans were not just technologically superior. They were tactically brilliant, strategically sound, and possessed of a restraint that spoke of true confidence in their abilities. "I surrender," he broadcast on all frequencies. "The Thrakari? Fleet surrenders to the human vessel." The words echoed through space, heard by every surviving council ship. The mighty Thrakari Empire, which had never surrendered to any enemy in 3,000 years of warfare, had been brought low by a single human warship. Admiral Zethkar sat in his darkened command center, watching his dreams of easy victory burn around him. More than half his fleet was gone. Most of the survivors were damaged beyond immediate repair. The greatest military force the Council had ever assembled had been shattered by one enemy ship. "Admiral," Vicstar said quietly, "we are receiving surrender transmissions from 17 Council vessels. They are requesting permission to withdraw." Zethkar closed his eyes. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. The Galactic Council would blame him for this disaster, and they would be right. He had underestimated the humans completely. "Grant their requests," he said finally. "All ships are free to withdraw." But Captain Chun was not finished. Her voice filled the communication channels one last time. "Admiral Zethkar, you brought 50 ships to intimidate one human colony. You threatened to destroy our people if we did not bow to your demands. Did you really think we would simply surrender?" Zethkar activated his own transmitter. "What are you?" he asked. "What kind of species builds weapons like this?" Chun's answer was simple and terrible. "We are the species that survived 10,000 years of warfare on a single planet. We are the species that turned killing into an art form. We are humanity, Admiral. And you have just learned why the galaxy should fear us?" The surviving council. Ships began jumping to hyperspace, fleeing the system as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. They left behind the wreckage of 23 warships and the shattered remains of their pride. The Indomitable hung alone in space, surrounded by debris and escape pods. Captain Chane opened her ship to rescue survivors because that was what humans did. They fought fiercely when threatened, but they showed mercy to the defeated Dot as the last council ship disappeared into hyperspace. Chun activated her ship's long-range transmitters. The message she sent would reach every corner of the galaxy within days. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earthship Indomitable. The Galactic Council attacked human space with 50 warships. 23 of those ships have been destroyed or disabled. The survivors have been allowed to retreat. Let this be a lesson to any who think humanity can be bullied or intimidated. We did not seek this fight, but we finished it." The message would change everything. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in a single battle. The Council's reputation for invincibility was broken forever, and somewhere in the depths of space, more human ships were already being built. Ships that would make the Indomitable look like a training vessel. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity went to war. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the darkest hour of their 3,000-year reign. 12 species that had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology now faced a crisis that threatened their very existence. High Chancellor Mordith, an ancient being whose species had founded the Council, stood before the assembled representatives. His crystalline form glowed with barely contained anger as he read the battle reports from Kepler 442, 23 ships destroyed. He announced, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. 23 of our finest vessels, crewed by our best warriors, annihilated by a single human warship. This is not just a military defeat. This is a catastrophe that threatens everything we have built. The representatives shifted nervously in their seats. Some were already calculating how quickly they could withdraw their fleets to defend their home systems. Others wondered if it was time to consider peace negotiations with the humans. Admiral Zethkar stood in the center of the chamber, his uniform stripped of rank insignia. He was no longer an admiral. The Council had demoted him to prisoner, awaiting trial for the greatest military disaster in their history. You assured us the humans were primitive, accused Senator Victor of the Zenthari Collective. You told us their technology was centuries behind ours. How do you explain this defeat? Zethkar's voice was hoarse from hours of interrogation. The humans deceived us. Their ship used technologies we have never encountered, weapons that ignore our shields, engines that allow impossible maneuvers, cloaking systems that make them invisible to our best sensors. Excuses, snarled General Kratham of the Thurkari Empire. My ships fought bravely, but you failed to provide accurate intelligence about the enemy's capabilities. High Chancellor Mordith raised a hand for silence. The blame can be assigned later. Right now, we face a more immediate problem. News of this defeat is spreading throughout the galaxy. Dozens of species are already questioning Council authority. Some are talking about leaving our protection entirely. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives from different species began arguing among themselves. The carefully maintained unity of the Council was fracturing before their eyes. What do the humans want? Asked Ambassador Thalava of the Kovan Federation. Have they made any demands? Mordith activated a holographic display showing Earth. They have sent only one message to the Council. It is brief and to the point. Captain. Chion's image appeared in the center of the chamber. Even though it was just a recording, her presence seemed to command attention from every being present. To the Galactic Council, Chion's recorded voice began. You attacked human space without provocation. You threatened to destroy our colonies and blockade our homeworld. We defended ourselves as any free species would. This is your only warning. Stay out of human space. Any further aggression against humanity will be met with total war. The message ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. The humans were not asking for tribute or territory. They were not demanding submission from the Council. They simply wanted to be left alone. Total war, whispered Senator Victor. Do they understand what that would mean? I think they understand. Perfectly, replied Ambassador Thalava grimly. The question is, do we? High Chancellor Mordith studied the faces around him. Fear was replacing anger in their expressions. For the first time in millennia, the Council faced an enemy they could not intimidate or overwhelm. We have two choices, he announced. We can accept this humiliation and withdraw from human space, allowing every species in the galaxy to see our weakness. Or we can gather our full might and crush these upstarts before they become a greater threat. Our full might? Asked General Kratham. What exactly do you propose? Mordith's crystalline form pulsed with dark energy. The Grand Fleet, every ship from every member species, every weapon we possess. We throw everything at Earth before. They can build more vessels like the Indomitable. The suggestion sent shockwaves through the chamber. The Grand Fleet had never been assembled. It was a theoretical force, existing only in emergency protocols written when the Council was first formed. To activate it would require unanimous consent from all 12 species. That would mean total commitment, warned Senator Victor. We would be stripping defenses from every Council world. If we fail? If we fail, the Council falls anyway. Mordith replied. At least this way we go down fighting. Admiral Zethkar, forgotten in his disgrace, spoke up from the center of the chamber. High Chancellor, I urge caution. The human ship demonstrated capabilities far beyond anything in our databases. Assembling the Grand Fleet takes months. What? If they use that time to build more vessels? Silence. Mordith commanded. You have already proven your incompetence. Guards, remove the prisoner. As Zethkar was dragged away, he called out one final warning. You do not understand what you are facing. The humans are not like other species. They do not fight like U.S., but his words fell on deaf ears. The Council representatives were already caught up in the fever of their decision. One by one, they voted to activate the Grand Fleet Protocol. Meanwhile, in the Kepler 442 system, Captain Chun was dealing with the aftermath of her victory. Rescue operations were underway for the thousands of alien survivors floating in escape pods throughout the system. The Indomitable's medical bay was crowded with wounded council troops receiving treatment from human doctors. "Captain," reported Commander Torres, "we have completed rescue operations. Total survivors, 4,700 council personnel from 23 destroyed vessels." Chun nodded. "Any word from Earth?" "Admiral Kim sends his congratulations and new orders. We are to return home immediately. The President wants to debrief you personally." But Chun was studying the long-range sensor displays. "Commander, are you detecting increased hyperspace activity along the Council border?" Torres checked his instruments. "Yes, ma'am. Massive fleet movements from at least 8 different species." "It looks like they are consolidating forces." Chun frowned. She had hoped her demonstration of force would convince the Council to leave humanity alone. Instead, it seemed to have triggered exactly the opposite response. "They are going to try." "Again," she said quietly. "And this time, they will bring everything they have." Torres looked worried. "One ship against their entire military?" "Captain, even the Indomitable has limits." "Yes," Chun agreed. "But the Indomitable was never meant to fight their entire fleet alone." 3 weeks later, the Grand Fleet began assembling at the edge of Council space. It was a sight that would have terrified any enemy in galactic history. Over 1,500 warships from 12 different species, representing the combined might of the galaxy's dominant powers. The fleet was commanded by Fleet Admiral Sekthar, the most experienced military leader in Council history. Unlike Zethkar, he had studied every piece of available data about the human vessel. He understood that this would not be a simple battle of overwhelming force. "All fleet commanders, report status," he ordered from the bridge of his flagship, the massive hegemony dreadnought Eternal Victory. The responses came in from across the fleet. Vorthek battleships with their devastating energy weapons. Xanthari, bioships that could repair themselves during combat. Thrakari dreadnoughts armed with planet-killer missiles. Kovran stealth frigates designed for reconnaissance and harassment. "All ships report ready for departure," announced his tactical officer. "Hyperspace jump-to-Earth system calculated and ready to execute." Sekthar studied the tactical displays. "One more time, 1,500 ships against 1. Those odds should guarantee victory against any enemy." But the reports from Kepler 442 haunted him. The humans had technologies the Council did not understand. "Execute jump," he commanded. The Grand Fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with it the hopes and fears of an entire galactic civilization. They would arrive at Earth in 6 hours. On Earth, President Williams stood in the Global Defense Center, watching the approaching fleet on the main display. The Council ships were still in hyperspace, but their destination was obvious. "How many ships?" she asked General Harrison. "Current count is 1,537 vessels," he replied. "Everything the Council has available for immediate deployment, and our forces?" "The Indomitable is returning from Kepler 442. Captain Chun should arrive in 4 hours." President Williams looked around the war room at her military advisors. "One ship against 1,500. Even for humanity, those are not good odds." General Harrison smiled grimly. "Ma'am, the Indomitable was our prototype. It was never intended to fight their entire fleet. Then what was it intended for? To buy us time to finish the others?" Williams raised an eyebrow. "Others? The Defiant-class program has been in production for 3 years. We now have 7 ships of the Indomitable's class ready for combat. 12 more will be completed within the month." The President felt a surge of hope. 7 ships, that still seems ... "Ma'am," interrupted Admiral Kim, "the Indomitable was built using technology we developed 5 years ago. The newer ships incorporate everything we learned from the prototype, plus advances we have made since then. They are not just equal to the Indomitable, they are superior." President Williams looked at the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet. 1,500 ships, carrying weapons that could sterilize planets and crews trained for centuries in warfare. "Admiral," she said quietly, "signal the fleet. All ships are to take position at the edge of the solar system. When the Council arrives, we will be ready for them." In hyperspace, Fleet Admiral Sekthar received his final intelligence briefing. Council spies throughout the galaxy had been gathering information about human military preparations. "Sir," reported his intelligence officer, "our agents confirm that the humans have only one ship of the Indomitable class in their fleet. Long-range sensors detect no other vessels with similar energy signatures." Sekthar nodded. "And their defensive positions?" "Minimal. A few orbital platforms around Earth and Mars, some patrol craft in the outer system. Nothing that could threaten the Grand Fleet." The Fleet Admiral allowed himself a moment of confidence. Perhaps Zethkar had simply been incompetent. Perhaps. The human victory at Kepler 442 had been nothing more than luck and surprise. Against 1,500 ships in open battle, no single vessel could prevail. "Prepare to drop out of hyperspace," he ordered. "All ships to battle stations. Today we end the human threat forever." But as the Grand Fleet prepared to emerge at Earth, they had no idea what was waiting for them. The humans had learned from Kepler 442 as well, and unlike the Council, they had spent the past 3 weeks preparing for total war. The stage was set for the largest space battle in galactic history. On one side, the combined might of 12 alien empires. On the other, a species that had been fighting wars since before they discovered fire. The outcome would determine the future of the galaxy. The Grand Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a wall of metal and death. 1,500 ships stretched across millions of kilometers of space, their hulls gleaming under the distant sun's light. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Fleet Admiral Sekthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. His sensors showed the human homeworld floating peacefully in the void, protected only by a handful of orbital stations and patrol craft. "Contact Earth," he ordered. "Demand their immediate surrender." The communication channel opened, and President Williams appeared on the main screen. She sat calmly in what appeared to be a simple office, showing no fear despite the massive fleet threatening her world. "Fleet Admiral Sekthar," she said politely, "I assume you have come to discuss the surrender of your forces?" The alien bridge crew fell silent in shock. A few began to laugh nervously. The human leader was either completely insane or possessed of incredible courage. "You misunderstand the situation," Sekthar replied coldly. "You face 1,500 warships. Your single vessel cannot protect you now. Surrender, and your people will be allowed to live as servants to the Council." President Williams smiled slightly. "Admiral, I think you are the one who misunderstands. You see, the Indomitable was never our only ship. It was our first ship." Before Sekthar could respond, his sensors began detecting new contacts throughout the solar system. Ships decloaked around Jupiter, emerging from the gas giant's massive radiation field. More appeared near Saturn, hidden among the planet's rings. Others materialized from behind asteroids and moons. "Contact!" shouted his tactical officer. "Multiple human vessels decloaking throughout the system. Count is ... 7 ships, Admiral. All similar configuration to the Indomitable." Sekthar's confidence wavered slightly. 7 ships were still vastly outnumbered by his fleet. But the memory of what one human vessel had done to the Apex Squadron made him cautious. "All ships, maintain formation," he ordered. 7 ships cannot stand against 1,500, no matter how advanced their technology. But Captain Chien's voice cut through the communication channels, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Admiral Sekthar, this is Captain Sarachan of the UES Indomitable. You have brought your entire fleet to human space. That was a mistake." The Indomitable appeared first, dropping its cloak directly in front of the alien formation. But this ship looked different from the vessel that had fought at Kepler 442. Its hull was sleeker, its weapons more numerous. Upgrades and improvements were visible across its entire structure. "Indomitable Mark II," Chun announced calmly. 3 weeks was plenty of time for upgrades. The other human ships began revealing themselves. The UES Defiant emerged near Mars, its angular hull bristling with railguns and missile tubes. The UES Relentless appeared behind the alien fleet, cutting off their retreat. One by one, 7 human warships took positions around the Grand Fleet. Each ship was unique, incorporating different experimental technologies. The UES Vengeance carried prototype plasma weapons that burned hotter than stars. The UES Fury mounted kinetic cannons that could fire projectiles at 30% of light speed. The UES Retribution carried the first operational antimatter torpedoes ever built. 7 ships, Sekthar repeated, trying to convince himself. We still outnumber them 200 to 1. Admiral, his intelligence officer called out urgently. I am detecting massive energy signatures from all human vessels. Their power output is... This cannot be correct. What are the readings? Each ship is generating power equivalent to a small star, sir. Their fusion reactors appear to be operating at impossible efficiency levels. Sekthar felt the first stirrings. Of real fear, the humans had not just built more ships. They had improved on their original design. These vessels represented technology years ahead of anything the Council possessed. All ships, attack formation, he ordered. Concentrate fire on the nearest human vessel. Overwhelming firepower will ... His order was cut short as the human ships opened fire. The battle that followed would be remembered as the day the galaxy changed forever. 7 human warships faced down 1,500 alien vessels and turned the engagement into a massacre. The Use Defiant struck first, its experimental railguns sending tungsten projectiles through an entire line of Vorthak battleships. The rounds punched through multiple hulls, destroying 5 ships with a single volley. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop plasma and particle weapons, provided no protection against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The UES Vengeance unleashed its plasma weapons on a formation of Xanthari bioships, the superheated. Matter burned through their living hulls like acid through paper. The organic vessels tried to regenerate, but the plasma temperatures were too intense. They simply melted away into glowing particles. The UES Fury demonstrated the true meaning of kinetic warfare. Its cannons fired continuously, sending streams of projectiles into the alien formations. Each round carried the energy of a nuclear weapon, delivered with surgical precision. Entire squadrons of Council ships vanished in chains of explosions, but it was the UES Retribution that showed the galaxy's future. Its antimatter torpedoes created explosions that briefly outshone the sun. When matter and antimatter collided, the resulting energy release was beyond anything the aliens had ever witnessed. Ships simply ceased to exist, converted into pure energy and radiation. Admiral Sekthar watched in horror as his magnificent fleet was torn apart. All ships' evasive maneuvers used the asteroids for cover, but there was nowhere to hide. The human ships moved through space like predators hunting prey. Their artificial intelligence systems coordinated attacks with inhuman precision. When one human vessel engaged a target, the others would position themselves to cut off escape routes. Admiral, his tactical officer screamed over the noise of explosions. We have lost over 300 ships in the first 10 minutes. Our formation is completely broken. The Grand Fleet, which had arrived in perfect order, was now scattered across the solar system. Panic spread through the alien crews as they realized their weapons could not touch the human vessels. Energy beams and plasma bolts struck empty space as the human ships danced between their shots. Captain, Chun's voice filled the communication channels again. Admiral Sekthar, you wanted to end the human threat. How is that working out for you? The Indomitable appeared directly above Sekthar's flagship, its weapons trained on the bridge. But instead of firing, Chun opened a private channel. Admiral, your fleet is dying. Your crews are dying. End this before I have to destroy every ship you brought here. Sekthar looked at his tactical displays. Half his fleet was gone. The survivors were fleeing in all directions, trying desperately to reach the edge of the system where they could jump to hyperspace. But the human ships were hunting them down one by one. What do you want? He asked finally. I want you to take a message back to the Council, Chun replied. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity did not start this war, but we We'll finish it if we have to, and if we refuse? If we fight to the last ship? Chun's response was cold and simple. Then there will be no one left to deliver the message. The truth of her words hit Sekthar like a physical blow. The humans were not just winning this battle. They were toying with his fleet, playing with them. If they wanted to destroy every council ship, they clearly had the power to do so. All ships, he broadcast on the fleet frequency, cease fire. Begin immediate withdrawal to hyperspace jump points. The order sparked angry responses from many of his captains. Some refused to retreat, choosing to fight to the death rather than face the shame of defeat. The human ships allowed these brave fools to die with honor, destroying them quickly and cleanly, but most of the surviving alien vessels followed their admiral's orders. They fled toward the edge of the solar system, their crews broken and demoralized. Behind them, wreckage drifted in the void. The remains of over 800 warships, representing the pride of 12 different empires, as the last council ship jumped to hyperspace. Captain Chun gathered her small fleet near Earth. 7 ships had faced 1,501 decisively. The message was unmistakable. Humanity was not just another species to be bullied. They were a force that could challenge the galaxy's established order. President Williams addressed the world that evening. Her speech was broadcast across Earth and transmitted to every human colony in space. Today, the Galactic Council brought their entire military might against us, she said. They came to destroy our freedom and enslave our people. They learned that humanity will never bow to tyrants, no matter how powerful they claim to be. We did not seek this conflict, but we ended it. Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten human space. We are not afraid of you. We are not impressed by your numbers or your threats. We are humanity and we will defend ourselves. The news of Earth's victory spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. Within days, every species knew what had happened. The mighty Galactic Council, rulers of the galaxy for 3 millennia, had been humbled by a race that had barely learned to travel between stars. On dozens of worlds, oppressed peoples began to whisper about rebellion. If the humans could defeat the Council, perhaps freedom was possible for others as well. The galaxy's political order, stable for thousands of years, began to crack. In the Council chambers, the surviving representatives met in emergency session. Fleet Admiral Sekthar stood before them, no longer the confident commander who had led the Grand Fleet to Earth. We underestimated them completely, he reported. Their technology is not just advanced, it is revolutionary. They fight with weapons we do not understand, using tactics we cannot predict. High Chancellor Mordeth's crystalline form flickered with dark energy. What are your recommendations, Admiral? Sekthar's answer was simple and terrible. We negotiate. The humans have proven they can destroy us whenever they choose. Our only option is to seek peace. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some representatives called for continued war. Others demanded Sekthar's execution for cowardice. But underneath the anger was a growing fear. For the first time in their history, the Galactic Council faced an enemy they could not defeat. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital shipyards, construction continued around the clock. The 7 ships that had defeated the Grand Fleet were just the beginning. Hundreds more were being built, each one incorporating the latest advances in human military technology. Captain Chun stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, watching the construction with satisfaction. The galaxy had wanted to see what humanity was capable of. Now they knew. Her communication device chimed with an incoming message from Earth's military command. New orders. The Council was already rebuilding their fleets, and intelligence suggested they were seeking allies among other galactic powers. Chun smiled grimly. Let them come. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they could not be intimidated or defeated. If the Council wanted a real war, they would get one, but they would not win it. They would never win it. The age of human dominance in the galaxy had begun.
Admiral Krull stood on the command bridge of the massive flagship Dominion, his 4 arms clasped behind his back as he gazed at the holographic display of Earth's solar system. The blue-green planet seemed so small, so insignificant against the backdrop of space. Just another world to add to the growing Vex Empire. "Admiral, the fleet is assembled and awaiting your orders," said Officer Mech, approaching with a data tablet. "All 5,000 warships report combat readiness at optimal levels." Krull's scaled skin rippled with satisfaction. The Vex Armada was the largest military force ever assembled in the known galaxy. 5,000 warships, each carrying hundreds of fighter craft and thousands of ground troops. A force so massive it blotted out stars when gathered together. "And what of the humans?" Krull asked, his voice deep and gravelly. Mech swiped across the tablet, bringing up intelligence reports. "Primitive, Admiral. Their most advanced ships number fewer than 50. Their weapons are basic energy and projectile types. Nothing that can penetrate our shields, and physically, they are weak. No natural armor, limited strength, poor sensory capabilities." Krull nodded. It was as he expected. The conquest of Earth would be simple, quick, and add yet another resource-rich world to the Empire. Emperor Vox would be pleased. "Summon the command staff," Krull ordered. Within minutes, 20 senior officers gathered in the war room adjacent to the bridge. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showcasing every detail of Earth's defenses. Krull entered last, his tall frame causing the others to straighten to attention. "Officers of the glorious Vex Armada," Krull began, pacing slowly around the central table. "Today we begin our conquest of the human world called Earth. Our intelligence shows they are technologically inferior and physically weak. We outnumber their space forces 100 to 1. The officers clicked their mandibles in approval, a sound like rattling stones that echoed through the room. "This will be my 18th campaign," Krull continued. "And like the 17 before it, it will end in complete victory." Officer Tark, head of ground forces, raised a clawed hand. "Admiral, what resistance can we expect on the surface?" "Minimal," Krull replied confidently. "Humans have divided their world into separate territories they call nations. They cannot even unite among themselves. They will fall quickly." The meeting continued for an hour as Krull outlined the invasion plan. First, they would eliminate Earth's orbital defenses. Then they would establish control over key strategic locations. Finally, they would accept Earth's surrender or begin systematic elimination of resistance centers. As the officers filed out, Mech remained behind. "Something troubles you, Officer Mech?" Krull asked, noticing his second-in-command's hesitation. "Admiral, with respect, I reviewed some additional cultural data on humans. There are inconsistencies that concern me." Krull waved a dismissive hand. "Explain." "Their history is filled with warfare, Admiral. Despite their physical limitations, they have adapted and overcome challenges repeatedly. They seem to thrive in conflict." Krull laughed, a harsh sound rarely heard from the stoic Admiral. "All species fight, Mech. It is the way of the universe. But none fight like the Vex. None conquer like the Vex." "Of course, Admiral," Mech said, lowering his head respectfully. "I simply thought it worth noting." "Noted," Krull replied. "Now return to your station. We enter the outer solar system in 6 hours." After Mech left, Krull moved to his private chamber. The room was sparse by Vex standards, just a sleep platform, a meditation area, and a wall of campaign trophies. He looked at the collection of symbols taken from conquered worlds. 17 different civilizations, 17 victories. Earth would be the 18th. Krull settled onto his meditation platform and closed his 3 eyes, reflecting on his rise through the ranks. Born to a lower-caste family on the Vex homeworld, he had fought and clawed his way up through the military hierarchy. His first notable victory came as a young captain, when he crushed the rebellion on mining colony ZT-12. That earned him command of a destroyer, then a battle group, and finally, after the successful conquest of the Tory Federation, command of the entire armada. Emperor Vox had personally pinned the Imperial medal on Krull's chest and whispered, "Bring me more worlds." And Krull had. each campaign more glorious than the last. The Vex Empire now spanned 3 galactic quadrants, with billions of subjugated beings working to enrich the homeland. A soft chime broke Krull from his meditation. "Admiral," came Mech's voice through the communication system. "We have entered the solar system. Long-range sensors detect movement near the gas giant they call Jupiter." "Human ships?" Krull asked, rising swiftly. "Yes, Admiral. Small patrol craft. They appear to be monitoring our approach." "Let them watch," Krull said with satisfaction. "Let them tremble as they see the might of the Vex Armada bearing down on them." Krull returned to the bridge, where the crew worked with quiet efficiency. The massive view screen showed the Armada stretching out before them, thousands of ships moving in perfect formation. The sight never failed to fill Krull with pride. "Time to human homeworld?" he asked. "At current speed, 3 Earth days." "Admiral," replied the navigation officer. "Increase to battle speed," Krull ordered. "I want to reach their moon in 2 days." "Admiral," objected Mech quietly, "accelerating will spread our formation and reduce our defensive capabilities if we encounter resistance." Krull fixed his second-in-command with a hard stare. "What resistance, Mech? Their few ships are no match for even one of our destroyer groups, and I want this conquest completed quickly." Emperor Vox grows impatient for results. "Yes, Admiral," Mech said, turning to relay the orders. The great engines of the Armada roared to life, pushing the massive fleet faster toward the inner solar system. As they passed the orbit of Saturn, long-range sensors detected more human ships gathering near Mars. "They appear to be assembling a defensive force," Admiral, reported the sensor officer. Krull studied the tactical display with amusement. The humans had gathered perhaps 40 ships in total, small, lightly armed vessels that looked fragile compared to the massive Vex warships. "They intend to fight," Krull said, unable to hide his surprise, "with such inferior numbers and technology." "Perhaps they hope to negotiate," suggested Mech. Krull shook his head. "The Vex do not negotiate. We conquer." He turned to his communications officer. "Prepare a message to the humans. Tell them resistance is futile. Tell them the Vex Armada has never known defeat. Tell them their only hope for survival is immediate and unconditional surrender." As the message was transmitted toward Earth, Krull felt a strange sensation he hadn't experienced in many years. Anticipation. Not for the battle itself, which would surely be brief and one-sided, but for what would come after. Another victory, another world for the Empire, another trophy for his wall. The glory of the Vex would soon shine on Earth. The bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Defiant buzzed with tense activity. Captain Tom Reed leaned over the tactical display, studying the massive alien fleet approaching Mars orbit. His weathered face, marked by 20 years of military service, remained calm despite the odds they faced. 5,000 ships, muttered Lieutenant Hill, the tactical officer. "We're looking at 100-to-1 disadvantage, Captain." Reed straightened up and looked around at his crew. 50 men and women, the best Earth had to offer, all watching him for guidance. Beyond the Defiant, only 49 other combat-ready vessels stood between Earth and the alien Armada. "Numbers aren't everything," Reed said firmly. "We've studied the transmissions from the outer colonies. These Vex rely on overwhelming force and standard tactics. They've never faced a desperate humanity." Reed turned to his communications officer. "Patch me through to all EDF vessels." When the channel opened, Reed spoke clearly and confidently. "This is Captain Reed. By now you've all seen what we're up against. The enemy outnumbers us 100-to-1. They've conquered 17 systems before reaching us. They expect us to surrender or be crushed." He paused, looking at the determined faces of his bridge crew. "But they don't know humans. We don't go quietly. We don't follow the rules when our backs are against the wall. Fleet Command has authorized Operation Hornet's Nest. Break into your assigned groups. Hit them fast. Hit them where they don't expect it. Make them pay for every inch toward Earth." "Read out," The Earth fleet split into 10 battle groups of 5 ships each, tiny compared to the wall of alien vessels approaching. Reed commanded Alpha Group, which would make first contact with the Vex. All ships, battle stations, Reed ordered. Activate stealth systems and prepare for micro-jump on my mark. The 5 ships of Alpha Group engaged their experimental stealth technology, becoming nearly invisible to standard sensors. Reed had studied the Vex sensor capabilities from data gathered by the outer colonies before they fell. He knew the limitations. "Jump now," he commanded. In an instant, the 5 Earth vessels disappeared from their position and reappeared at the very edge of the approaching Vex fleet, targeting the ships that appeared to be scouts. On the bridge of the Dominion, Admiral Krull received the humans' response to his surrender demand. It wasn't what he expected. "They've refused, Admiral," reported the communications officer. "The message simply says, humans don't surrender." Krull made a dismissive gesture. "Their choice is made. They will learn what happens to those who defy the Vex Empire." "Admiral," called the sensor officer suddenly. "Small energy signatures detected on our right flank. 5 vessels have appeared near Scout Group 7. Krull turned to the tactical display. "Human ships. How did they get there without detection?" "Unknown, Admiral. They were not there 3 seconds ago." Krull studied the readings with growing interest. "What are they doing?" "They appear to be attacking our scout vessels, Admiral," replied the tactical officer. "Scout Group 7 reports taking fire." Krull felt a flash of irritation. The humans were employing some kind of surprise tactic, but it would make no difference to the outcome. "Destroy them," he ordered simply. 3 Vex destroyers broke formation and moved to intercept the human vessels. But as they approached, the Earth ships executed another micro-jump, disappearing from sensors. "Where did they go?" Krull demanded. "Scanning. They've reappeared behind our interceptors, Admiral. They're targeting the destroyer's engine systems with precision weapons." Krull watched in disbelief as one of his destroyers reported critical engine failure. The humans were using small, focused attacks against vulnerable systems rather than engaging in direct combat. "This is not standard military doctrine," Krull said, mostly to himself. "What are they trying to accomplish?" "Admiral," Mech said quietly, "they're testing our responses, learning our weaknesses." Before Krull could reply, the sensor officer called out again. "New contacts. Another 5 human vessels have appeared on our left flank. They're targeting our communication relay ships." For the next hour, the pattern continued. Small groups of Earth ships would appear, strike at specific targets, and disappear before the Vex could mount an effective response. They never engaged directly with the main Vex battle groups, instead picking off support vessels, communications relays, and scouts. Krull's irritation grew with each report. This is not how battles are fought. They're using cowards' tactics. Mech studied the tactical display thoughtfully. "Not cowardly, Admiral. Smart. They know they can't match our firepower, so they're avoiding direct confrontation." "It changes nothing," Krull insisted. "We've lost only 12 ships from an armada of thousands. Their efforts are futile." "It changes nothing," Krull insisted. "We've lost only 12 ships from an armada of thousands. Their efforts are futile." Yet something bothered him about the human tactics. No species had ever approached battle this way against the Vex. Usually, inferior forces would mass their ships together for greater defensive capability. The humans were doing the opposite, spreading out, striking from multiple directions, then retreating. "Admiral," Mech said hesitantly, "I believe they're analyzing our response patterns. Each attack tests a different aspect of our defenses." Krull considered this. To what end? They must know they cannot win. "Perhaps winning means something different to them," Mech suggested. "Not conquest, but survival." A new alert sounded on the bridge. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the 4th planet," reported the science officer. "The humans call it Mars." "Explain," Krull demanded. It appears they've placed some kind of weapons platforms on several of Mars' moons. They're powering up now. Kroll studied the readings. Target those platforms. Full barrage. The Vex fleet fired massive energy weapons toward Mars moons, but as the beams approached, something unexpected happened. The human ships that had been harassing their flanks suddenly executed synchronized jumps to positions between the Vex fleet and Mars. They projected some kind of energy field that redirected the Vex weapons' fire back toward the fleet. 3 Vex cruisers took direct hits from their own weapons. For the first time, Kroll felt a flicker of unease. How did they do that? Our weapon signatures should be impossible to redirect. Mech stepped closer to the display. Admiral, I believe they've been studying Vex technology. Perhaps from wreckage left in the outer systems we conquered. Impossible, Kroll said flatly. Our technology is too advanced for them to understand so quickly. Yet the evidence was before him. Somehow, these primitive humans had analyzed Vex weapons systems and developed countermeasures. The human vessels disappeared again, executing another jump. The bridge fell silent as everyone waited for their next move. Admiral, said the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from one of the human ships. Put it through, Kroll ordered. A human face appeared on the screen. Captain Reed looked directly at Kroll with steady eyes. Admiral of the Vex fleet, I am Captain Tom Reed of the Earth Defense Force. Consider this a demonstration of what you'll face if you continue toward Earth. We may be outnumbered, but we're fighting for our home. Every mile you advance will cost you dearly. Think carefully about whether Earth is worth the price you'll pay. The transmission cut off. Kroll stood motionless for a moment, then turned to Mech. They think they can intimidate the Vex Armada with parlor tricks and threats. Admiral, Mech said carefully, we should consider altering our standard approach. These humans are unpredictable. Kroll's 3 eyes narrowed. We continue as planned. Move the fleet forward. Full combat formation. Let's see how these humans handle the full might of the Vex Armada. As the massive fleet advanced toward Mars, Kroll couldn't completely shake the feeling that something about this conquest would be different from the others. These humans fought unlike any species he had encountered before. But it wouldn't matter. No one defeated the Vex Armada. No one. The Vex Armada moved through the space between Mars and Earth like a massive dark cloud. Admiral Kroll stood on the bridge of the Dominion, watching as the human forces seemingly retreated from their positions around Mars. They abandoned their outer defenses, Kroll observed with satisfaction. Perhaps they now understand the futility of resistance. Officer Mech studied the tactical display with concern. Admiral, I find this withdrawal troubling. The humans have shown themselves to be clever. This may be another tactic. Kroll made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. Or it may simply be that they realized their position was hopeless. Continue advance as planned. The massive Vex fleet pushed forward, following standard invasion protocol. The main battle groups formed a spearhead, with support vessels and carriers protected in the center of the formation. Scout ships ranged ahead, watching for signs of human resistance. We will reach Earth's... The tactical display showed the Earth fleet, no longer separated into small groups but now moving in a coordinated attack pattern. They targeted the Vex ships affected by the electromagnetic dust, firing precision weapons at engine sections and weapons arrays. Return fire, Kroll ordered. All operational ships protect the disabled vessels. The still-functioning Vex ships tried to organize a defense, but the human vessels moved with unexpected speed and agility, darting between the larger alien warships and continuing their precise attacks. On the main view screen, Kroll watched in growing alarm as a human ship approached one of his disabled cruisers. Instead of destroying it, the humans attached themselves to the hull. What are they doing? He demanded. It appears to be a boarding action, Admiral, replied the tactical officer, sounding confused. They're cutting through the hull. Boarding? They dare to board Vex ships. Kroll could hardly believe it. Such tactics were unheard of in modern space warfare. Over the next hour, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The humans had boarded 7 disabled Vex vessels. Shortly after each boarding, the ship's systems came back online, but now they were turning their weapons against their own fleet. They're capturing our ships and using them against us. Krull roared in disbelief. Mech's expression was grim. They must have figured out how to bypass our security protocols. This suggests an understanding of our technology that should be impossible for such a primitive species. A priority communication came through from one of the captured vessels. A human face appeared on screen, a female with short gray hair and intense eyes. This is Commander Jane Stone of Earth Defense Force Special Operations. Thanks for the generous donation to our fleet. Admiral, your ships are quite impressive, though we've already found several ways to improve them. The transmission cut off abruptly. Improve them, Krull repeated, his voice barely a whisper. A cold feeling spread through him as he realized the implications. Somehow, these humans were not just using Vex technology. They were understanding it, adapting it, and enhancing it. Admiral, said Mech urgently, we must withdraw and regroup. We've lost almost 500 ships now, either disabled or captured. This is no longer a simple conquest. For the first time in his long military career, Krull considered retreat. The thought was so alien to him that he physically recoiled from it. No, he said firmly. The Vex Armada does not retreat. We still outnumber them greatly. Form all operational ships into defensive spheres. Launch all fighter craft. We will crush this resistance with overwhelming force. Mech looked as though he wanted to object, but instead nodded and turned to relay the orders. As the Vex fleet reorganized, the humans pulled back, taking their captured ships with them. The lull in battle gave Krull time to assess the damage. Nearly 10% of his armada was now either disabled or in enemy hands. It was an unprecedented loss for the Vex, who typically conquered worlds with minimal casualties. Admiral, said the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. The main screen lit up with the image of Captain Reed. Behind him stood Commander Stone and several other humans in military uniforms. Admiral Krull, said Reed calmly, I hope we have your attention now. We recovered data cores from your disabled ships. We know about your 17 previous conquests. We know how you operate, your standard tactics, your technical specifications, your weaknesses. Krull stared at the human with growing unease. You see, Admiral, Reed continued, the difference between us is simple. You conquer. We survive. You follow protocols. We adapt. You rely on superiority. We embrace inferiority and find ways to turn it into strength. You still outnumber us, but numbers aren't everything, as you're starting to learn. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Dominion in silence. Krull turned to look at his officers. For the first time, he saw doubt in their eyes. They had never experienced such losses, such unexpected resistance. Prepare all remaining ships for full attack, he ordered, his voice harsher than usual. Launch all reserve fighters. We will push through to Earth immediately and end this resistance at its source. As the orders went out, Krull moved to a private communication console and opened a secure channel to the Vex homeworld. For the first time in his career, he considered requesting reinforcements. The thought filled him with shame, but also with something else, a feeling so unfamiliar that it took him several moments to identify it. Fear. The command center deep beneath Earth's surface buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed the positions of the Vex fleet and Earth's defensive forces. Captain Reed and Commander Stone stood side by side, watching as the alien armada regrouped after their ambush in the asteroid field. They're forming a classic hammer and anvil formation, Reed observed. Krull is going to throw everything at us now. Stone nodded, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the tactical display. He's predictable. Vex military doctrine doesn't account for major losses. Their only response to setbacks is to increase force. A young officer approached with a data tablet. Captain, we've finished analyzing the biological samples retrieved from the captured Vex ships. Reed took the tablet and studied it with Stone looking over his shoulder. This is exactly what we needed. Get this to Dr. Miller immediately. As the officer hurried away, Stone turned to Reed. Will it be ready in time? It has to be, Reed replied grimly. We've bloodied their nose, but they still have thousands of ships. We need every advantage we can get. The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. General Ward, the overall commander of Earth's military forces, appeared on screen. Captain Reed. Commander Stone. The President has approved Operation Sunburn. You have full authorization to deploy all special weapons. Reed straightened. Thank you, General. We'll make it count. After the transmission ended, Reed turned to his communications officer. Signal all Earth Defense Force ships. Execute Phase 2. On the bridge of the Dominion, Admiral Krull watched as his reorganized fleet moved toward Earth in a massive formation designed to overwhelm any defense. Nearly 4,000 ships remained under his command, still an overwhelming force despite the unexpected losses. All ships report ready, Admiral, said the tactical officer. Fighter squadrons launched and in attack position. Krull nodded. Commence the attack. Full speed ahead. The massive Vex fleet surged forward, thousands of ships moving as one unstoppable force. Smaller fighter craft swarmed ahead like a cloud of deadly insects. Human vessels detected, reported the sensor officer. They appear to be forming a defensive line between us and their planet. Krull studied the tactical display. The humans had arranged their 50 original ships, plus the 7 captured Vex vessels, in a loose formation near Earth's moon. They think they can stop us with so few ships. Krull said with a harsh laugh. Their bravery is admirable but foolish. Officer Mech studied the display with concern. Admiral, their formation seems designed to draw us in. I recommend caution. Caution. Krull turned to his second-in-command. We outnumber them nearly 80-1 even after our losses. We will crush them with overwhelming force. The Vex fleet continued its advance, the distance to the human defensive line rapidly closing. Energy signatures detected from the human vessels, called the sensor officer. They appear to be preparing to fire. Raise all shields, Krull ordered calmly. Their weapons cannot penetrate our. He never finished the sentence. The human ships fired, but what emerged from their weapons wasn't the energy beams or missiles the Vex expected. Instead, they released clouds of glittering particles that spread out rapidly, engulfing hundreds of Vex ships in seconds. What is this? Krull demanded as alarms began to sound across the bridge. Unknown substance. Admiral, replied the science officer frantically. It's penetrating our hulls. Sensors show it's targeting our life support systems. Reports flooded in from throughout the fleet. The mysterious substance was somehow getting through Vex shields and hull plating, causing crew members to collapse at their stations. It wasn't killing them, but rendering them unconscious or severely disoriented. It's a biological agent, Mech realized aloud, specifically designed to affect Vex physiology. Krull stared in shock at the tactical display as hundreds of his ships began drifting out of formation, their crews incapacitated. How could they know our biology so precisely? The captured ships, Mech said grimly. They must have studied our people as well as our technology. Krull felt a cold rage building inside him. These humans were fighting without honor, without following the established rules of warfare. They used trickery and targeted weaknesses instead of meeting strength with strength. Launch all remaining reserves, he ordered. Every ship we have. I want that defensive line broken, now. The remaining Vex ships that hadn't been affected by the biological agent surged forward, firing their massive energy weapons at the human fleet. Several Earth vessels took direct hits, exploding in brilliant flashes. For a moment, Krull felt the tide turning back in his favor, but then something unexpected happened again. Admiral, we're detecting numerous small craft launching from the Earth's surface, reported the sensor officer. The tactical display showed hundreds of tiny vessels, barely large enough for a single pilot, rising from the planet below. "What are those?" Krull demanded. The bridge of the Dominion was in chaos. Warning alarms blared as damage reports flooded in from all sections of the massive flagship. The view screen showed a scene that Admiral Krull had never imagined possible. The once mighty Vex Armada in disarray, with hundreds of ships disabled, captured, or actively fighting against their former comrades. "Admiral," the tactical officer called out, his voice strained. "We've lost contact with the entire third battle group. The humans have somehow taken control of our command frequencies." Krull stared at the tactical display in disbelief. In just 6 hours of battle, his overwhelming advantage had been cut in half. Nearly 2,000 Vex ships were now either disabled or under human control. The remaining vessels were surrounded, caught in a web of smaller, faster human craft that darted in and out of their formation, causing maximum disruption. "This cannot be happening," Krull muttered, more to himself than to his officers. "We outnumbered them 100 to 1. Officer Mech approached cautiously. "Admiral, we've received a communication from the flagship of our second battle group. They've been boarded. Commander Jax is requesting permission to activate self-destruct protocols." Krull's head snapped up. "Denied. No Vex vessel has ever self-destructed to avoid capture. It is against all protocols." "Admiral," Mech pressed, "these are not normal circumstances. The humans are systematically capturing our technology and turning it against us. If this continues—" "Enough," Krull roared, slamming all 4 of his arms down on the command console. "I will not be the first admiral in Vex history to lose a fleet. Gather all remaining operational ships. Form a spearhead formation. We will make a direct assault on the human homeworld." The officers on the bridge exchanged uncertain glances, but began relaying the orders. The remaining Vex ships, still numbering nearly 2,000, began to move into the attack formation. "Plot a course directly to their largest population center," Krull ordered. "We will show these humans the consequence of defying the Vex Empire." The massive engines of the Dominion flared as the flagship moved to the head of the formation. The spearhead of ships accelerated toward Earth, their weapons charging for a devastating first strike. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans." "Ignore it," Krull snapped. "They wish to beg for mercy. It is too late." "Admiral," Mech said firmly, "I strongly recommend you hear what they have to say. Intelligence gathering is still valuable, even in difficult situations." Krull glared at his second-in-command, but gave a curt nod. "Put it through." The main view screen shifted to show Captain Reed. He looked tired but determined, with a calm confidence that infuriated Krull. "Admiral Krull," Reed said evenly, "you're moving your remaining ships into position for a direct attack on Earth. I'm contacting you to offer terms of surrender." Krull let out a harsh laugh. "You offer me terms? Your arrogance is astounding, human. Your planet will burn for this insolence." Reed's expression didn't change. "Admiral, I'm not offering our surrender. I'm offering to accept yours." The bridge fell silent. Krull stared at the human, momentarily speechless with rage. "We currently control over 900 of your ships," Reed continued calmly. "We've analyzed your weapons systems and defensive capabilities. We know exactly how to counter them. We have deployed our special forces to key positions around your remaining fleet. Most importantly, we have successfully transmitted all of this information to our colonies throughout the solar system." Reed leaned closer to the camera. "Even if you somehow destroy Earth, Admiral, humanity will survive. And we will never stop hunting the Vex. We will take your technology and improve it. We will study your biology and understand it. We will follow you back to your empire and dismantle it piece by piece." The human's voice remained level, which somehow made his words even more chilling. "Or you can surrender now. We will allow your crews to return home. We will even permit you to keep half your fleet. In exchange, the Vex Empire will recognize Earth and its solar system as sovereign territory, never to be violated again. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Kroll turned to his tactical officer. "Proceed with the attack. Full power to all weapons." The officer hesitated, then began entering the commands. The Vex fleet continued its advance toward Earth, weapons systems charging to maximum power. "Weapons at full capacity," Admiral, reported the tactical officer. "Target locked on the human population center they call New York. Firing in 10 seconds. Kroll watched the countdown on the tactical display, a sense of grim satisfaction building within him. The humans had fought well, but the Vex Empire would not be denied its conquest. "Sir," called the sensor officer suddenly, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the captured Vex vessels. They're targeting our weapons systems." Before Kroll could respond, a coordinated barrage from the captured ships struck the Dominion and the vessels surrounding it. The attacks were precisely aimed at weapons control systems, disabling them without destroying the ships themselves. "Weapons offline," reported the tactical officer. "They somehow knew exactly where to hit us." Kroll stood frozen in shock as more reports flooded in. Throughout his fleet, the same pattern was repeating. Precision strikes disabling weapons, but leaving the ships intact. "Admiral," said the communications officer, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple ship captains. They're requesting permission to stand down." "What?" Kroll's voice was barely a whisper. "They wish to surrender." "Yes, Admiral. Captain Dorn of the Conquest says his crew refuses to continue what they see as a suicide mission." Mech stepped forward. "Admiral, the captains are making a rational decision. We cannot win this battle. Not with conventional means." Something broke inside Kroll at that moment. His carefully maintained control, his absolute confidence in Vex superiority. It all crumbled away, leaving nothing but desperate fury. "I will not accept defeat," he roared. "Open a channel to all ships. Authorization, Kroll Alpha Strike." Mech's eyes widened in alarm. "Admiral, that's the planetary annihilation protocol. It would violate all accepted rules of warfare." The Emperor himself wheeled. "The Emperor is not here," Kroll snarled. "I will not return in disgrace. If we cannot conquer this world, we will destroy it utterly. Open the channel." The communications officer looked to Mech, clearly torn between following Kroll's orders and the obvious madness of the command. Mech made his decision. With a quick motion, he drew his sidearm and pointed it at Kroll. "Admiral Kroll, I am relieving you of command under Emergency Protocol 7. Your judgment is compromised." Kroll stared at his second-in-command in disbelief. "This is mutiny." "This is preservation," Mech replied firmly. "Of our crews, our honor, and what remains of our fleet." The other bridge officers slowly moved to stand behind Mech. None of them had ever imagined taking such action against their admiral, but the alternative was unthinkable. Kroll looked around at the faces of his crew, faces that had once shown nothing but respect and fear. Now he saw only determination and pity. "Take the admiral to his quarters," Mech ordered. "Place him under guard." As two security officers approached, Kroll did not resist. His body felt suddenly heavy, his mind numb with the reality of what had happened. As he was led from the bridge, Kroll glanced one last time at the tactical display. The once mighty Vex Armada, his armada, was now surrounded by the ships of a species he had dismissed as primitive and weak. In his quarters, under guard, Kroll activated his personal log. For a long moment, he stared at the recording device, struggling to find words that could explain the inexplicable. "Final log of Admiral Kroll," he began, his voice hollow. "The conquest of Earth has failed. We outnumbered them 100 to 1. Our technology was superior. Our tactics were proven across 17 successful campaigns. And yet, we were defeated." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "The humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They do not follow the established protocols of warfare. They adapt. They improvise. They use their very weakness as a weapon, turning our strength against us. They captured our ships and learned our technology faster than should be possible. They studied our biology and created weapons specifically designed to target us. Krull's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Most terrifying of all, they showed no fear. Even when facing overwhelming odds, they fought with a determination I have never witnessed. It was as if the concept of defeat simply does not exist in their minds. He looked up at the small viewport in his quarters, where Earth was visible as a blue-green sphere against the blackness of space. I now understand why the humans have survived on their hostile world. They are not physically imposing. They are not naturally armored. They are not even particularly strong. But they are the most adaptable, most innovative, most terrifyingly unpredictable species in the galaxy. Krull's 3 eyes closed briefly as he contemplated the future. I leave this warning to all who might consider the conquest of Earth. Do not underestimate humans. Their greatest strength is their apparent weakness. They turn disadvantage into advantage. They learn. They adapt. And they never, ever surrender. He reached forward to end the recording, then paused to add one final thought. We outnumbered them 100 to 1. And still, we were defeated. May the Empire never make the same mistake again. As Krull ended his log, he heard the sound of his door opening. Officer Mech entered, his expression solemn. "It is done," Mech said simply. "I have accepted the human terms. Half our fleet will return to the Empire. The rest." He hesitated. "The rest will remain here as tribute and guarantee of our compliance." Krull nodded slowly. "And what of me?" "You will face the Emperor's judgment," Mech replied. "As will I for the mutiny." "It was not mutiny," Krull said quietly. "It was wisdom, something I lacked." He turned to look at Earth once more. "We may have lost this battle, Mech, but I fear the Empire has gained a far more dangerous enemy than it ever imagined." As the Dominion began its long journey home, Admiral Krull, the first Vex commander to ever taste defeat, watched the blue planet recede into the distance, knowing that the galaxy would never be the same again.